Hello, and welcome to the Create a Life You Love podcast. I'm your host, Chantal. My purpose is to empower and lift up others who know in their heart they're meant for more. More joy, more impact, and more passion. If you're ready to make a radical transformation and create a life that you love, then you have come to the right place. Let's do this. Hey friends, you are about to listen to an episode of the Create a Life You Love video podcast where I get to interview Chiara Townley. Definitely check it out. I think you're really going to like it. And before we dive into that, I just wanted to invite you to join the Ditch Your Never Ending To-Do List Bootcamp. Kicks off November 7th, 2020. It's 3 days. So we're going to wrap up November 9th. Lots of amazing things going on in there. So I will drop the link in the show notes and definitely check it out. It is designed to help overwhelmed women reclaim their lives so that they can accomplish the dreams that they keep putting on the back burner. So I can't wait to see you there. Enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to today's episode of the Create a Life You Love video podcast, where I get to connect with people from all over the world and share tips and strategies to help you on your own journey. For those of you who don't know me yet, my name is Chantal. I'm an author and transformation coach who empowers motivated professional women who are ready to break free from the bondage of daily stress and anxiety to step into their full potential and create a life that they love. So I am super excited to be here today with Chiara Townley. Chiara is a published writer and spiritual counselor who will be sharing tips on how to improve your life connecting with your spiritual self. So welcome, Chiara. How are you doing today?
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I'm doing great. I am here in Portland, Oregon. Rainy day. Guess what?
It's a rainy day. And tell us where you were from. I was just getting all the fun info behind the scenes there. But now that we're live, tell us where your beautiful accent is from.
I'm from Italy, and I moved to the US 7 years ago for love. My husband is American. We have like a crazy love story. We met in London, and I'm not gonna tell all the story right now, but it's about, the power of intuition and following your heart against a lot. So something kind of very romantic that you see in movies.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So yeah, that's one of the amazing things about being able to do this is, yes, you are in Portland, Oregon right now, which is a place I've never been. But then like you're from Italy and you met your husband in London and just all the things, all the ways that the world just is kind of made smaller and more connected through internet technology of Zoom. And thanks to COVID, it's even that much more normalized.
It's true. It's true. There's always something good, to find, even in the challenging times. It's very important to keep that in mind.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your journey. Like, what's your path of how you are creating a life that you love?
Well, the thing that like really changed my life is how I met my husband. And I met him in a hotel in London, and his parents came to the hotel, and when at the check-in I saw him. He was helping them with their bags, and I heard the voice. Whatever you believe that voice was, deep intuition, your higher self, your guide, God. I don't want to define it for everybody, but that voice said you're gonna marry this guy. So that moment changed my life. And that's I followed, like, despite all the challenges that we went through, and like immigration, and I moved temporarily to the US, and then it didn't work out. He was dating someone else, just, a long time. But following that intuition and following my heart took me to where I am right now. And eventually we got married in San Francisco in 2014. We stayed in San Francisco for 3 years. We saved money, and we are travelers. That's how we kind of fell in love. And we decided to save some money to travel the world. And after 3 years in San Francisco, we traveled the world for 6 months. And we decided, where do we live? Where do we want to settle down? Portland was the decision. And then I had my first son last year. And that's where, my latest challenge. So obviously, the relationship with my husband was very challenging, but now the latest challenge was postpartum depression and anxiety that I had at the beginning of this year.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that was the latest challenge that once I overcame it, I transformed it into the spiritual businesses that I have now.
Wow. So you went through experiencing postpartum depression and then have used that to now you're helping others who kind of struggle with depression and anxiety and all those.
Yeah, I would say general blockages that people have. So any types. But yeah, I was inspired by my personal journey with postpartum. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. My coach, who I am going through a coaching certification with, she always tells us, transformed people transform people. And so I love meeting other people who are taking their personal transformations and paying it forward and helping other people transform as well. So awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So how old is your child now?
He's 1 year old. He was born in August. So yeah, recently he turned one. And it's crazy. It's I wasn't born with the maternal instinct. It's kind of one of those decisions that sometimes you come to in agreement with your husband, with your partner. You're like, okay, are we ready? It's the next step. It comes natural. But then as a woman, there's so much more you go through. And I thought it was just about being tired physically, but I didn't think about the emotional challenges. So for me, it really crushed me in a way that it was a rebirth than when I came out of it. So you almost feel like you have a past life and you have a new one, and you have to find ways to integrate them. That was the challenge for me.
Absolutely. So, for anyone out there listening that is struggling with blockages and maybe anxiety, depression, maybe it's derived from postpartum, what are some tips that you have for them to create a life that they love?
So it really depends on anxiety is like a symptom. It comes from somewhere. So you have to kind of like dig a little bit deeper. You have to learn how to listen to your body and to your emotions, which takes me to what I'm going to talk about today is the four pillars of self-development. So it takes me to the idea of being aware of what's going on inside of you, and I mean especially emotionally. It's very important to be in touch with your emotions and feelings. And I don't recommend necessarily to go through the meaning and investigate when you're in it, because it can be, our brain can make things actually harder because it starts to just, especially when we are talking about negative emotions, we go into these cycles and the brain is mainly responsible for it because it takes the emotion and wants to give it meaning and wants to investigate immediately, and that's not healthy. So I would recommend to dig a little bit more into that emotional feeling when you're not in it. And when you're not in it, hopefully you have people in your life like your partner or close friends who can help you and you can talk about it. Or if you don't feel ready for it, you can do some journaling, and that would really help you see the deep reasons behind that specific feeling. In case of anxiety, for me, I was really this deep identity crisis. More than that, it was really lack of self love. I had just kind of lost it along the way. So it really depends, like the reason behind like why you're feeling that way. And as I said, the brain is kind of dangerous in situations where you want to investigate while you're in the feeling. As I always like to, remind people, we are the ocean and our emotions are waves, so they're temporary. It's very important that we are aware of that when we're in it. We don't reject it, we don't resist, we accept them, and then eventually when it's gone, because it's not going to be forever, we can sit down and analyze and investigate.
Wow, I love that. I've never heard that analogy before, that we're the ocean and our emotions are waves and they're temporary. That's amazing. That gives you a level of kind of acceptance and peace, like this too shall pass. So, yeah, I love it.
Yeah, that exactly takes me to the second pillar, that is acceptance. Acceptance is very important because is liberating. And I personally, throughout all the experience, pregnancy was really hard for me. I had a lot of like not big issues, but I mean I had like nausea the first couple of months, and then acid reflux throughout all the pregnancy, and I kind of hated it. I never got the pregnancy glow that some women say they have, and so I resisted. I resisted, like, and rejecting the experience. I brought more pain to myself, you know. And then, you know, like the birth was traumatic, was a C-section, it was unplanned. The head of my son got stuck. And so they had to perform a C-section. It was traumatic for me. So none of these things clearly helped to create attachment between me and my son. But the idea of rejecting and resisting the worst thing that you can do, because it just brings more pain. Once you accept something, and you can do like a very simple exercise, you know, you can breathe in the problem, and when you breathe out, you accept it, and you repeat that. You can say it out loud. I breathe in this, and as I exhale, I accept it. It's very important because once we do that, we are able, then if we can fix the situation, we fix it, and if we can't, we let go. So you can, if you can't fix it, then at the exhale, you can say I let go, and that really helps. Um, so that's something I work with, and I'm still working with. You know, like accepting the situation, the challenges. Um, and then the third pillar is living in the present. Living in the present is another very important thing to keep in mind, because mainly our ego tends to take us either back in the past, where oftentimes we have regrets. So it's sometimes a negative experience. And then as we instead think about the future, we get anxious. And so once we are really in the present, in the activity that we're doing, we find joy, because that's kind of our natural state. Because it's kind of the brain, the ego, that really, you know, takes us to these negative scenarios and regrets and things like that. But our really like natural state is like the joy of being alive, because that's what it is. And then when I'm talking about being present, I mean making an effort to be present in even small activities like washing the dishes. Next time you wash the dishes, try not to think about the past or the future. Feel the water running on your hand. The like be with your senses, like be in the experience in the moment. And if your brain goes somewhere else, if your mind goes somewhere else, just go back to the present. Like keep on just going back, and then your brain will be trained to do that, and it will become easier. So that's the third one. And the fourth is the one that takes me a little bit more into the spiritual part of the conversation. So let me first define what spirituality is for me. Spirituality is the fall of the illusion of separation. So hopefully, if there's something we learned this year in 2020, is that we are all connected as humans, and then we are also connected to the planet. We are facing so many crises, and the most important lesson that I hope everybody is getting is that we are all connected. Once we start to feel this connection with among, you know, us as humans and everything else on the planet, we start to become spiritual. That's how it starts. And then we start to feel part of something bigger, and whatever it is, whatever you want to call it. Some people call it God, universe, source, I don't know, you name it. But the idea is that spirituality, that's what it is like the fall of the illusion of separation for me. Um, and so for me, the spirituality in my practice is about the chakra system. So we all have like an energy field that extends beyond our body, and it's affected by our decisions, by what we do, what we think. Um, and in this energy field, there are these seven main energy centers that are called chakras. You probably heard of them, but I'll give you a quick recap. So they start from the base of the spine up to the top of the head, and the base of the spine is about safety and security, so basic needs. The second one is the sacral chakra, and is our like emotional center is about relationship, sexual relationship, money, and the power dynamics in this relationship. And then the solar plexus that is located in the stomach is about our identity, and personal power. The heart is about love, compassion, self-love. The throat chakra is about communication and self-expression. The sixth chakra is about intuition. And the seventh chakra at the top of the head is about the connection with something bigger. Now, these centers develop at different stages of our life. So, if, chances are, if you had traumas, especially with family in your childhood when you were little, your lower chakras are blocked. And so they develop at different stages, but we also can get blockages at any point in our life. And so it's very important to keep this in mind, that we have this other reality, this other energy field that needs to be protected, that needs to be nurtured in the right way. And that's kind of what I use as a roadmap to improve my life. So I, listen to what my body is telling me. Like during my experience with postpartum, listening to my body, I felt like a pressure on my chest. And I realized that I had lost a lot for myself, because thinking I wasn't able, I wouldn't be a good mom, made me feel almost like a bad person. And when you think you're a bad person, you lose love for yourself. And using the chakra system as a roadmap, I was able to heal, because then I used the tools that I use also in my practice and the way I help my clients. Visualization, so a meditation that is focused on a specific image that can help, positive affirmations. So depending on the situation, these tools can help to get unstuck. And it's specific to every person. It depends on your history, and like if you had traumas when you were little, your relationship with your parents. It's a big analysis that I do for my clients to try to figure out these blockages. But these four pillars can really help you to, create the life that you love.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm pretty new in the self-development, self-help world. I just kind of started learning a little bit about it right after my divorce, so like 6.5 years ago. And then I'm just now starting to like learn more about the more spiritual type things. And so, yeah, I was like frantically taking notes on the chakras because I'm like, I have no idea what those are. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, good. Oh, good. I can talk about it more, if you have specific questions, with like people who are watching have questions, obviously.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, is it something that you always kind of knew about and practiced, or is it a fairly new?
So I read about chakras like a long time ago, and I kept on reading about it, but really not putting it in practice. Like in the end, reading books was really helpful, like like as a formation for me to understand what I believe, and kind of like my little religion, because I grew up Catholic, and so my dad used to force me to go to church. And so once I was the right age to make my own decisions, I was like, I need to find my own truth. And so I started to read about different religions and spirituality. But I guess I didn't put it in practice. I never really listened also to my intuition. And so once you open those channels, be more open to this idea of the energy field, and you get more connected to it through meditation. Obviously, meditation and mindfulness is really important. When your mind stops, when there is space between your thoughts, that's when you can develop intuition. And so I started to put it in practice, but also kind of listen to my intuition. And when you do that, your answers get faster, and the answers you need get faster. And then we get a little bit more into the like spiritual part that I believe in. And if you want, I can go into that, and then what kind of resonated with me as a little religion, if you want to call it that way, is this idea that our souls, before incarnating into this lifetime, make spiritual contracts. And these contracts are based on the lesson that we have to learn in this lifetime. So that's why, like people in life sometimes go through the same experience. experience over and over again. Let's say you keep on having like a really bad boss, like you change jobs, but it really doesn't work. Maybe you're not meant to be an employee. Maybe you need to be an entrepreneur. Like there's a lesson that is chosen beforehand on one or more. And so throughout our life, we have this deep connection with our spirit guides, and you want to call them like angels, who are there for us, and they manifest in our intuition. Or, when you're like, especially when you're meditating, and I was saying, and you open this space between thoughts. Maybe you're thinking about something that you're looking for an answer, and eventually, like you close your eyes and something comes to you, like an image, or like something you hear, but like internally, not like hearing a voice, but like, and maybe that's the answer. It's kind of like staying open. So intuition is about really staying open to receive, create space between the thoughts. And I do believe that you can then connect with this bigger either source or your spirit guides, and you can get the answers you're looking for. But if you have blockages in other parts in other chakras, it becomes hard because we have a flow that from the base of the spine goes up to the top of the head. And if there are traumas, there are things unresolved, it doesn't go up the energy. And so it's incredibly hard to open our intuition if we have a blockage in the lower chakras, let's say. So there's a lot of work that you have. And sometimes it's the work of a lifetime.
Wow. That's so fascinating. So I know in your bio it mentions that you are a published author. So is some of the writings that you've done related to this work?
No, I self-published a book about the love story with my husband that is about intuition too, but no, I didn't. I really launched this spiritual business in July of this year. For me, this year 2020 was about working on myself and really transforming, as you said. And I hope everybody is doing that. And I actually feel as an intuitive that the collective is awakening to this idea of connection that I was talking about. So I think it's happening, and in my experience, I was just like, I can either complain every day about the situation, or I can use the time we have. This year is so important to work on myself, to be better, to use the tools, the spiritual tools, to just get better, to tap more into my intuition. So that's what I kind of started to do this year. And my postpartum was kind of like the dark time. Usually we gain that wisdom through dark times, right? And so that's kind of what this year has been for me.
Gotcha. That's very cool. Very cool. Yeah. So it's like those waves, your dark time came and then it went, and you get to be empowered and take control of those emotions. And yeah, we're not stuck.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I'm still, I'm still working on it. But these tools that I mentioned, like the meditation, visualization, and positive affirmations, and gratitude, and journaling, like these have, like, one thing that I always want to say is that have to be used in concert. I don't think there's one tool that works by itself. I think that together they become really powerful. That's kind of what I do. So essentially, being also a writer, I put together, I combine my love for writing and my love for spirituality into one project. So what I do is, like, after talking to the person and asking them to fill out a questionnaire, I write an analysis of their chakra system. I see the blockages. I give them tools to overcome these blockages, and I use the tarot to look into their soul path and see what the lessons are. So it's in written form because I believe in self-healing. Nobody can heal you. You can heal yourself. If you find someone that tell you they can heal you, apart from obviously physical, like doctors, just don't believe them, because you heal yourself. And what I give is just guidance, tools. It's a document that you can go back to and just look at it and work on it, because you have to put the work.
Very awesome. So for anyone listening, either live or on a replay, wherever they're tuning in from, how can they sign up to do something like that with you?
Yeah, so my website, my name, Chiara, B like Bravo, Townley, like my last name, all one word.com. And you can see a little bit about everything, like my published articles, and also the guidance part is what I'm talking about, like my spiritual business.
Awesome. We will definitely get that all linked up. It is currently in the Facebook Live description, but then anywhere else I repost it and reshare, it'll definitely be there as well. And so they would sign up for your a guidance session, and then how does that kind of work?
Yeah, so basically I ask, there's a questionnaire, there's a link to a questionnaire that really helps me to understand where the blockages may be. And it's just easier for me. It's optional, but it's just easier for me that people fill it out. Because then when we have the conversation, I don't have to just, the conversation doesn't have to be a questionnaire. We can talk a little bit more. And so I can feel you a little bit more. And then we talk for an hour, and that is free. And then I work on the plan, like, and I send it to you like as soon as I can. It's something written, as I said, so I need to take some time to work with my tools. And it's now $80. But for your listeners and your people tell me that they found out about the business review, then I can give $50 instead of 80.
Wow, thank you. So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely everybody go sign up for a 1 hour um, complimentary guidance session, but then mention that you're with that you found out about Chiara on this podcast, the Create a Life You Love podcast, and save a bunch of money. Who doesn't love that? So normally,
Exactly. Yes. And there's a part in the questionnaire. I think it asks, where did you find me? So that's easy. That's how I know too.
perfect. Yay. That's awesome. Very exciting stuff. I'm looking over the live. Hi, Amanda. I see you're on with us. I can't see who the other person is. Um, but welcome, welcome. If anybody has any questions for Chiara, please drop them in the chat and we will get those addressed. Or if you just want to say hi.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and I'll be happy to reply to the questions also in the next couple of days. If you can think of anything right now, just in the replay, I'll make sure, I'll just like watch and I'll reply.
Perfect. I love it. Um, awesome. And then, like, do you have a social media presence? Obviously, you're on Facebook.
Yeah, so on Facebook, the page is CBT, like the three letters, CBT writing. And then on all the other channels, you can find me as Chiara B. Townley, at Chiara B. Townley. So on Instagram, Twitter, she uses Twitter. Yes, that's where you can find me. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, Chiara B. Townley, same name.
Awesome. And do you do any, I don't know, like motivational posts or things that kind of teach about chakras and all the different things that you're very knowledgeable and passionate about?
Yeah, I started like a blog series about all the tools that I use. So you can, I didn't finish it yet, but like it's going. And then I post like, yes, motivational quotes on all the social media channels. Like not every day, but like, yeah, you can find them for sure. Yeah.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Okay. Um, I'm just trying to get this to work here. I see someone did share a comment, but it's not letting me see it. Apologize. We're having all kinds of fun issues today.
It's okay. It's good to go with the flow. I don't mind it. I'm not a perfectionist.
That's good. I'm learning not to be because it just doesn't really work out well for me.
Because you said you're a teacher before, like when we talk. I guess like that's kind of like the mindset. Like so, it makes sense. That you're in that. But yeah, just let it go. Inhale the perfectionism. Exhale, let it go.
Just let it go. Let that wave pass me right on by.
Exactly, exactly.
I love it. Oh, here we go. Okay. Mike says, Hola. And then he asks, what are your thoughts on psychedelics in one's spirituality? Ooh, good question, Mike.
Oh my God, this is an awesome question. My husband is into that. He's not into the spirituality in the way I am, but he totally wants to do the experience. He actually donated some money to the research recently. And it's funny because we were having a conversation about that. And I said, I think it's a shortcut to intuition. So let's say if you want to put the hard work and, meditate and open that channel and find the space between the thoughts, ask the question, listen to the answers that come. It takes time, it's not gonna be for immediately, But I think what mushrooms are, what psychedelics are shortcuts. I think you can have an incredibly spiritual experience with that. Just I would say without putting the effort, which is great, and she's into that. And so I would say, yes, I think it can be a very spiritual experience because I think it can take out all those things like believing in the spirit guides that we have. I believe that they will show you what you need to see during that experience.
Awesome. And Katie joined us. She says, I love that the perception of teachers is the perfectionist. How did I miss that class as a high school teacher? So Katie was also an educator for a while. Now she's full-time in her entrepreneurial journey. Oh,
Hi, Katie.
my cat always likes to like tune in. She's not a perfectionist. She is a disruptor.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah, lovely cat. What's the name of the cat?
Yeah. Ginger. Ginger
Ginger.
Rogers. Yes.
Ginger Rogers. Nice, nice.
We used to have a
I
Fred
love it.
Astaire, but he's no longer with us.
Oh no, I'm sure he's watching.
Yes, yes.
He's watching us.
So funny. Well, great questions, you all. If you have any other questions, drop them in here. It's good to see everybody. So Katie was, I think, 2 weeks ago, and Mike is in 2 weeks from now. So we have a past, present, and future Create a Life You Love guest present.
Oh yay! Awesome, awesome. I love this community
Yeah.
very much. Thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. I just love chatting and exchanging ideas and like awesome question. Fun.
Yes. It's so much fun. Just connecting with everybody. It's super amazing. So I always like to ask all of my guests, what are your daily non-negotiables?
So especially during this year, it's been hard. I used to go to yoga, obviously, to the studio. So I do like 10 minutes of activity, exercise every day. I either do like, I alternate between yoga, 10 minutes of yoga and stationary bike. And then after that, I do a couple of minutes of meditation. Meditation is just, it's been like a like amazing for me. And I know obviously many people talk about it, but if it's hard to, stop the mind because, the mind is racing, I think that focusing on something is great, either on an image or on something specific, on a mantra, it can really help. I also have a hard time personally, like stopping, the mind. So I use visualization a lot. I decide on like an image that can help me, like going back to the chakras. Every chakra has a color. So maybe I focus on that color if I feel like a specific blockage. So images for me are really helpful.
That's awesome. I'm always fascinated by everyone else's non-negotiables, and when there's a little bit of difference, but then there's usually some similarities. Like almost everybody incorporates some type of intentional movement. Like you talked about yoga or stationary bike, and yeah, so I love that. And the meditation and quieting your mind, that's a very common one too.
Yeah, for me, it's very important to stay rooted, like grounded, because as a spiritual person, I often lack that kind of like being connected, like being grounded. So it like yoga, exercise, it just reminds me that I kind of live here on this planet.
Yes, I love it. Well, thank you. Looking back over at the chat, Katie says about my cat, she's like, she's a disruptor. I took that class. And then commented how we had the past, present, and future Create a Life You Love guests as where are the Trinity? So that's fun.
Nice, I love it. The Trinity. There you go. I'll make sure I check your live your replays too.
Awesome. Yes, I will get this posted. I do have to think about how I may actually edit and combine the two, as we had, for anybody who missed, we started and we're doing great, and then Zoom stopped working, so then we restarted. So I may try to combine those two and edit out some of the imperfections.
Okay, it's awesome that you have editing skills for that. So yeah, whatever you can do, but like no worries about it. It was great.
Exactly. It's like, or I may just leave it, because that was one of the reasons I wanted to do live and not pre-recorded. And occasionally I'll do a pre-recorded just because of scheduling. But I'm like, if I pre-record it, like I'll never launch it. I'll just keep editing and editing and editing and like be like, well, that one wasn't great. Let me try again another time. And I'm like, if it's live, then it's out there. And what are you gonna do?
It's true, yeah. Like I mean, it's much more fun for sure to just go with the flow, and it could be just really something really good for you, yeah. For
Yeah.
your perfectionism.
I've gotten a lot of practice in 2020 with, things. I'm not in control, guys, if you didn't know.
Man, yeah, that's been hard, like to just let go. Yes, the let go part is something we have to work on it constantly because as humans we just want to be in control at different levels, obviously. But this year taught us a lot already, So that's what it was. It was yeah, teaching experience, yeah, learning experience.
Very big learning experience for all of us. Awesome. Well, this has been delightful. Any last minute tidbits you want to share?
I would say there's something I can suggest. Is I think we are in a very chaotic time right now, and going into the election, it's gonna get worse. I think staying grounded is very important. So, like an exercise that you can do is with your naked feet to touch the ground. That you can stand up and touch the ground. If you can do it in nature, obviously much better. If you have a backyard, do that in the backyard. Just close your eyes, and visualize roots coming out of your feet. And these roots like go down slowly to the core of the earth. And then you visualize the beautiful glowing core of the earth, and you just make sure you stay grounded. And then it can take a couple of minutes, but it's going to really help with all that's coming too. So I try to do it. I don't do it as often as I should, but it's a tip that I can give you.
Awesome. So when you say in nature, are you thinking more like a natural element like grass or dirt or sand or something, not just like concrete, like my back patio? Like
That would be ideal because that contact with nature is like what keeps us grounded. But if you can't, like whatever is like on the ground so that you can really visualize those roots coming down.
I love it. We'll have to try that out. Okay.
Great.
Mike chimed in. He said, there's beauty in chaos. All control is an illusion.
Sure.
It is
That's
true.
true. That's true. We definitely have to protect our energy field though. So we're just gonna have to remember to stay grounded. It's healthy for our energy field.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us and sticking with us and following us to two different links and all the craziness. And thank you so much, Chiara, for sharing all your wisdom and knowledge about. I learned so much about chakras and spirituality and chaos.
Thank you so much for having me. This was just a lot of fun. Yeah, thanks so much.
Awesome. Everyone, have a good night.
Bye. Bye, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Create a Life You Love podcast. I would love to hear from you about your biggest takeaways. Share them with me on Facebook or Instagram at Create a Life You Love Coaching. If you love this podcast, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. That's it for now. Enjoy the journey.